want to go back to this whole narrative about church attacks, which was conveniently peddled just before, I think, the Delhi election or something, right? And so, what was the truth behind, these cases? Because you have suddenly things happening for no rhyme or reason. I mean, there's no logic to something just happening like that all of a sudden. But it did, according to the people who wanted us to believe it did. So how was this narrative like this built?
Yeah, so, in fact, I'm glad you mentioned that, because as far as narratives, fake narratives go, that is right up there. That is the Mount Everest, because that was the first time, and Modi had just taken over, the government. It was end of 2014. And the first 3 or 4 months, he wasn't really visible. I think he was a bit anxious, having come from Gujarat, taking so much responsibility. He was not as proactive as as a prime minister as what he's now. So, and that happened at, I think, November, December, and January. And as you said, in February was the Delhi election. So those 2, 3 months. And that was so frustrating, because that was the first inkling I got that people could be so shamelessly propagandists. That's the first inkling. Believe me, before that, I would trust a lot of people. But then that instant I realized that, look, you can't trust me. And the reason for that was that ultimately each one of those instances of the so-called church attacks were regular burglaries, regular robberies that had happened in UPA as well. And all that data, which this government should have brought out the next day the propaganda started, they never did. They never did for 30, 40 days. So, when you talk, and at that point of time, the social media wasn't that active, because everyone was finding their moorings. People weren't so shockingly distrustful of the media that they would immediately take it as a lie and start busting it. There was still some, you can say, inertia into mistrusting, any news that came out, especially out of mainstream media. But then slowly people realized that all those instances were, completely fake, in the sense that, they weren't communal. There was another one, so-called exalted journalist, quote unquote journalist, who even attributed a rape of a nun to an RSS affiliated organization. So all these things happened, and then you had these banner headlines in Times of India and other newspapers, enough, say, very Christian. Every day you would have, I wrote a piece on this as well. Every day you would have, Christians, so-called intellectuals, and, the kind of known people with Christian surnames and Christians come on television, write articles, op-eds saying that this is not the country I knew it to be. Julio Ribeiro comes to mind. He was the one who actually started this, And then the data comes in, not only the previous year's data, where during UPA there were more such church attacks than during NDA. But all these, when investigated, were found out to be, non-communal at all, non-communal, each one of them, including the rape of the nun that was carried out by Bangladeshi immigrants. And it was so heartbreaking at one sense, because then you realize that, they want to destroy the psyche of, so if they are going to be like this in the first 6 months of Modi government, they are going to be like this for the next 6 years. And that is what we've seen. But that was the first inkling. And I'll never forget, what happened after that. Then came intolerance and, award, Wapsi and all those things. But each one of them has been demolished. Now these guys are running around. They don't know what to do. So, they're like, Bahar ka danga fasad, वो discuss करके उसको attribute करें यहाँ पे, like what is happening in America and things of that sort. But you see, one thing I realized that as I said, I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself, that you cannot cure these people. I realized it, and you can only expose them. And the church attack was the first instance when I actually realized. And then a certain calmness descends, because once for example, the same thing has happened in my case, as far as Arvind Kejriwal is concerned. I would get so perturbed, because he was, quote unquote, he marketed himself also as one of us, fighting, common man, aam aadmi, Lakshman ka, wohi shirt bahar hai, chappal pehne mein, fighting, and all that image was, he's one of us, and he's gone there, and he's going to fight for us. But now he's turned out to be like Lalu Prasad Yadav. And I never get angry at whatever Lalu Prasad Yadav does, because I know that is what he is destined to do. He's going to do that. So a certain calmness is there. And that is what has happened even with propaganda. You see something, you're not perturbed in the sense that you're not aggravated, you're not angry anymore, because you know this is what they do. So in a way, with this plethora of propaganda coming in a very macabre way, it has kind of helped. If every year there was one propaganda, then you would be very perturbed. You write reams of op-eds on it against its facts and all that. But now if there is one propaganda every day, then you know that this is almost like a avalanche, and you stop worrying about.
Namaste. We hope you enjoyed this Chitti Media content. Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.